So welcome to this video on the having clause in T-SQL, Transact-SQL or SQL Server, depending on how you refer to it. So let's jump right in. The having clause is basically a similar clause to the where, clause or where keyword that can be used with aggregate functions. So if you remember our discussions in the video about the where clause, we saw one example where that the where clause could not be used with aggregate functions. So suppose you had a sum or a count or an average that you were calculating, and you wanted to filter the data by that sum, average or count. You couldn't do that with the where clause. You need to use the having clause when filtering data based on aggregate conditions. So let's just dive into a demo. Before that, let's set up the environment. I'm using Azure Data Studio, which is basically the tool that you need on Mac. And if you're on Windows, you might be using SQL Server Management Studio. I've got installation guides to both, depending on whatever your OS you're on. You can find them in the description, or I'll put them in the corner of the screen as well. And apart from that, I'll also link to this GitHub repository, which basically has two files. One is a demo file and one is a table setup file. The table setup file has all the data that you need to create the sample data that I'm using. You can just copy it and paste the data into your table, into your SQL tool, and then you'll have this table that I'm using. And there's a demo file also, which basically has the queries that I'm using written down, so you can copy and paste them. So let's dive into this demo. So just going back to what aggregate functions are, and just doing a quick example of one. You might remember that we could do a count based on a specific column. So suppose you wanted to find the number of people from each country in the table, we could do select country and then count ID or any other unique column. So if you look at the table, you can see that ID is a unique column, and we've got a country column as well. So if you want to find the number of people from each country, you could do a select country, comma count ID from sample underscore data, and then group by country. And now when you run this, you've got basically the country and the number of people in there. This is just to make it more clear. I'll give this count column an alias, and now when we run it, we should have we've got a count column name specified there. And now where this having clause becomes useful is if we want to filter this data based on this count column, or based on a column that is the result of an aggregate function. You can't use the where clause because that results in an error. So you have to use the having clause. You can write having and then just do count ID, whatever you use to create the aggregate column, count ID. So suppose you want to do equal to 1. Wherever there's only one person from each country, return those countries. So we've got a list of countries where there's only one person in the table, or you can do greater than 5 and then run. Yeah, so you've got everybody who's greater than 5, or you can do count ID greater than 5 and then use the and or operators to further logically filter the data, and count ID less than 20. So only Indonesia and Poland should be returned. Run that, and we've got Indonesia and Poland. So that's it, a little bit about the having demo. Quick recap: you can basically use the having clause to filter data based on a column that has been generated by an aggregate function, which is not allowed using the where clause. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, Yeah, thank you.